Hashtag Chapter 1, The Goodbye She Thought Would Break Me. My name is Ethan Carter. I am 29 years old, and until that day, I believed love could survive anything. For 4 years, I built my future around Olivia Bennett. I thought we would marry, buy a small house, and grow old together. I ignored every warning because I loved her more than I loved myself. "You're quiet," Olivia said as she walked into my apartment. I smiled. "Long day. How was your interview?" She looked at me with shining eyes. "I got it." I stood and hugged her. "That's amazing. I knew you could do it." She hugged me back for only a second. "There's something else," she whispered. Pulled away. "What is it?" "The job is in London." I blinked. "London?" "Yes." "For a few months?" "No. It's permanent." My smile slowly disappeared. She crossed her arms. "You'll come with me." I stared at her. "Olivia." "What?" "My father is sick." "I know. He needs me." She sighed. "Your father has doctors." "He has doctors, but he doesn't have another son." She looked away. "So that's your answer?" she asked. "I'm asking for time." "I don't have time, Ethan." I stepped closer. "We can make this work." She laughed softly. "Long distance?" she asked. "For a while." "No." "Why not?" "Because I won't wait." My chest tightened. "I waited for your late nights. I supported every dream you had. And now it's my turn," she replied. "I never asked you to leave your family. You don't understand. Help me understand." She looked directly into my eyes. "I want a bigger life." I felt those words cut deeper than any knife. "So, I'm too small." "Don't twist my words. I'm trying to understand them." She grabbed an envelope from the table. "My flight is next week." "You already accepted?" "Yes." "You didn't even ask me first." "I knew what you'd say." I looked at the floor. "You already decided our future." "I decided mine." The room became painfully quiet. Finally, I spoke. "I can't leave my father." She shook her head. "You always choose someone else." "No. I'm choosing responsibility." "I call it fear." I swallowed hard. "You really think I'm afraid?" "I think you're comfortable." "My father is fighting for his life. And I'm fighting for my future." I closed my eyes. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. When I opened them again, she looked like a stranger. "If you loved me," she said quietly, "you'd come." "If you loved me," I answered, "you wouldn't ask me to abandon him." She picked up her bag. "So this is goodbye." I wanted to stop her. Every part of me wanted to run after her. Instead, I stood still. "I hope you don't regret this," she said. "I hope you don't either." She walked to the door. "You'll miss me." "I already do." She smiled sadly. "No, Ethan. You'll chase me." I didn't answer. The door closed. The silence hurt more than our argument. That evening, I drove to the hospital. My father looked tired, but he smiled when he saw me. "You look troubled," he said. "I lost Olivia." He stayed quiet. "She left. She chose her career overseas. And you?" "I chose you." He frowned. "I never wanted you to sacrifice your happiness." "I didn't sacrifice it." "What do you mean?" "I chose the person who never walked away from me." His eyes became wet. "You deserve someone who stays beside you because they want to, not because they expect something in return." I squeezed his hand. "I don't know how to stop loving her." "You don't have to stop today," he replied softly. "Just don't stop respecting yourself." A week later, I stood alone at the airport, watching her plane disappear into the gray sky. I kept waiting for my heart to tell me to run. It never did. I walked back to my car feeling empty, wondering if love had ever been enough. Just before I started the engine, my phone vibrated. It was Olivia. One message. "You'll come after me. I know you will." Hashtag Chapter 2, Picking Up the Pieces. The days after Olivia left felt painfully quiet. Every morning, I reached for my phone before remembering she was thousands of miles away. I almost sent a message many times, but I always stopped myself. Instead, I drove to the hospital. My father looked weaker every week, but he still smiled when I entered his room. "You came early," he said. "I wanted to have breakfast with you." He chuckled. "Hospital food isn't much of a breakfast. I brought your favorite sandwiches. You always know how to make an old man happy." I sat beside him. "How are you feeling today?" "My body is tired." I looked down. "But my heart is peaceful," he added. "I wish I could say the same." He watched me quietly. "You're still thinking about Olivia." "I can't help it." "You miss her." "I miss the future I imagined." He nodded slowly. "Those are different things." I frowned. "Are they?" "Very different." I stayed silent. He reached over and squeezed my hand. "Ethan, real love never asks you to abandon the people who need you. I keep wondering if I made the wrong choice. If you had left me behind, would you have respected yourself?" I couldn't answer. "I don't think so." "Neither do I." His words stayed in my mind long after I left the hospital. A few days later, one of the nurses stopped me in the hallway. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes. The physical therapist wants to speak with you." I walked into the therapy room. A young woman smiled politely. "Hello. I'm Grace Turner." "I'm Ethan. It's nice to meet you." She held out a folder. "Your father has been working hard." "Has he?" "He complains a lot." I laughed. "That sounds like him." She smiled. "But he never gives up." "Thank you for helping him." "I'm only doing my job." "It still means a lot to me." She gave a small nod. "Your father talks about you all the time." I looked surprised. "He does." "He says you're stubborn." I laughed again. "He's right." "And loyal." That word stayed with me. For the first time in weeks, someone described me without mentioning my broken relationship. As I walked home, my phone buzzed. A new photo appeared. Olivia stood on a rooftop restaurant overlooking the London skyline. She wore an expensive dress and smiled beside several well-dressed co-workers. Another photo showed champagne glasses. Another showed a luxury hotel. I stared at them until my chest tightened. Then I locked my phone. The next day, another picture arrived. The day after that, another. Finally, I muted her account. "If she wants that life," I whispered, "I hope it makes her happy." The words hurt, but they also gave me peace. Weeks passed. My routine became simple. Hospital, work, home, repeat. One afternoon, I found my father looking out the window. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. "You. I'm not that interesting. You've always underestimated yourself." I smiled. "I learned that from you." He laughed softly before coughing. After catching his breath, he looked serious. "Ethan, I need you to promise me something. Anything. When life gives you another chance to love, don't compare her to Olivia." "I don't think I'll ever love again." "You will." "I don't believe that." "You don't have to believe it today." I looked away. "I just don't want to be hurt again." "No one does." He paused. "But fear is a poor reason to close your heart." I nodded slowly. Before I could answer, someone knocked on the door. A man in a dark suit stepped inside. "Good afternoon." "Daniel," my father said with a smile. The man shook my hand. "I'm Daniel Brooks, your father's lawyer." "It's nice to meet you." "You too, Ethan." My father looked at both of us. "I asked Daniel to come because there's something you need to know." I felt my stomach tighten. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "Many years ago, I made an investment." I looked confused. "What kind of investment?" "The kind that could change your entire future." I stared at him, unsure whether I had heard him correctly. For the first time since Olivia walked away, I realized my life might be heading toward a future I had never imagined. Chapter 3: The Life She Never Expected. Several months passed before the morning I feared finally arrived. I sat beside my father's hospital bed, holding his hand. He smiled at me. "You look exhausted." "I'll sleep later." "You always say that." "I learned it from you." He laughed softly. "I suppose you did." The room became quiet. "Ethan, I'm here. I'm proud of you." "You already told me." I'm saying it again because I don't know if I'll get another chance. My throat tightened. Don't talk like that. Listen to me. I nodded. You chose love with responsibility instead of love with selfishness. I only did what felt right. That's why I'm proud. I squeezed his hand. I don't know how to live without you. You already do. I don't. You will. His breathing slowed. Promise me something. Anything. Keep moving forward. I promise. And don't waste your future looking backward. Tears filled my eyes. I promise. He smiled one last time. I love you, son. I love you too, Dad. A few moments later, his hand became still. My world fell silent. A week later, I sat inside Daniel Brooks' office. I'm sorry for your loss, he said. Thank you. He opened a large folder. Your father left very clear instructions. I'll do whatever he wanted. Daniel nodded. He knew you would. He placed several documents in front of me. Your father secretly invested in a technology company nearly 20 years ago. I stared at him. What? He slowly increased his ownership. I never knew. He wanted you to earn the truth when the time was right. I looked at the papers. The company is profitable. Very. How much of it did he own? Daniel smiled slightly. Enough that you now control it. I leaned back in complete shock. This can't be real. It is. Why didn't he tell me? He wanted you to become a good man before becoming a wealthy one. His words echoed inside my mind. My first day at the company felt overwhelming. Employees watched me with uncertain expressions. A confident woman walked toward me. Mr. Carter? Yes. I'm Sarah Collins, the executive director. It's nice to meet you. We've been waiting for you. I hope I don't disappoint everyone. She smiled. That depends. On what? Whether you listen before giving orders. I laughed. I can do that. Good. She handed me several reports. We have problems. I expected that. But we also have potential. I believe that. She looked surprised. You sound like your father. I hope that's a compliment. It definitely is. The first month felt impossible. Every meeting taught me something new. Every mistake taught me even more. One evening, I stayed alone studying financial reports. Someone knocked gently. Come in. Grace stepped inside carrying 2 cups of coffee. I guessed you'd still be working. I've been here since sunrise. I know. How? I asked Sarah. I smiled. You two know each other? We met at the hospital fundraiser. She placed a cup beside me. You need a break. I need another brain. She laughed. I can't help with that. I appreciate the coffee. She sat across from me. How are you really doing? I miss my father every day. I know. But every time I want to quit, I hear his voice. What does he say? Keep moving forward. She smiled softly. He gave good advice. He always did. Weeks turned into months. The company slowly changed. Instead of blaming employees, I asked questions. Instead of hiding problems, we solved them together. One afternoon, Sarah introduced me to another executive. Ethan, this is Ryan Foster. Ryan shook my hand. I've heard good things about you. I hope they're true. They are. He smiled. I'd like to become your business partner. I thought you already worked here. I do. But I believe we can build something much bigger together. I looked at Sarah. She nodded. I trust him. So do I, she said. I smiled at Ryan. Then let's build it. Months passed quickly. Profits increased. New clients arrived. Employees smiled more often. For the first time in years, I felt proud instead of broken. One evening, Ryan entered my office. I heard something. What? It's about Olivia. I looked up. I don't usually ask. I know. But I thought you deserved to hear it. What happened? I heard her company isn't doing well. I stayed quiet. Some important projects failed. I see. Are you okay? I thought carefully before answering. I don't want her to suffer. But I don't want my life to stop because of her anymore. Ryan smiled. That's growth. Maybe he was right. That night, I stood alone outside the office building. The city lights stretched across the streets below. I remembered the man who once believed happiness depended on chasing someone who had already walked away. Now I understood something completely different. Real success wasn't becoming rich. It wasn't proving Olivia wrong. It wasn't making anyone regret losing me. Real success was waking up every morning with purpose, honoring my father's final promise, surrounding myself with honest people like Grace, Sarah, Ryan, and Daniel, and building a future through patience instead of desperation. For the first time since Olivia boarded that plane, I smiled without forcing it, and deep inside, I knew my best chapter had only just begun. Chapter 4 Fame Built on Lies. 3 years changed almost everything about my life. Every morning, I walked into my company's headquarters as its CEO. Every week brought new meetings, new opportunities, and new responsibilities. The lonely man who had once watched a plane disappear into the sky slowly became someone my employees trusted. One morning, Sarah knocked on my office door. "Ethan, your interview starts in 15 minutes. I smiled. "Another one? You've become popular." I wanted successful projects, not cameras. She laughed. Too late. A few minutes later, I sat across from a journalist. He smiled politely. "I'm Lucas Reed. It's nice to meet you. Congratulations on your company's international growth." "Thank you. What do you think is the secret behind your success?" I thought for a moment. "People. That's all. Good people make good companies." He nodded. "You've never been involved in public scandals." "I try to stay focused on work." "What inspires you every day?" I smiled faintly. "A promise I made to someone I loved." He looked curious. "Would you like to explain?" "No. I respect that." The interview ended, and Lucas shook my hand. "I hope we speak again." "I'm sure we will." After he left, Emma Hayes entered my office carrying a tablet. "I'm Emma, your new PR director. I've heard great things about you. I hope to earn them." She handed me a schedule. "You have 2 interviews next week, 1 charity event, and 1 international conference." I sighed. I missed the days when nobody knew my name. She smiled. "Successful people usually do." That evening, I returned home feeling exhausted. I made coffee and sat on my couch. While scrolling through my phone, a familiar face suddenly appeared on my screen. Olivia. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Her account had millions of followers. I hesitated before opening one of her videos. She smiled at the camera. "I gave up the love of my life to chase my dreams," she said. "Sometimes success costs more than people understand." Thousands of comments appeared below. "You were so brave. You sacrificed everything. Your story is heartbreaking." I stared at the screen. She never told them the truth. She never mentioned my father. She never mentioned asking me to abandon him. She made herself look like the victim. My hands tightened around my phone. For 1 second, I wanted to answer every lie. Instead, I closed the app. The next morning, Grace noticed my mood. "You look upset." I saw Olivia online. Grace stayed quiet. "She tells people she sacrificed true love. And she left out the important parts." "What do you want to do?" "I don't know." She smiled gently. "I do." "What?" "Nothing." I frowned. "Nothing?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because your life is finally peaceful." I looked away. "She doesn't deserve free space in your mind anymore." "I know. So don't give it to her." I smiled. "You always make things sound simple." "They usually are." Before leaving, she looked back. "Keep building your future." "I will." A week later, Emma rushed into my office. "Ethan, we have big news." "What happened?" She placed a magazine on my desk. The cover announced an international partnership between my company and one of Europe's fastest-growing technology groups. I looked closer. My heartbeat stopped. The company logo looked familiar. "Emma." "Yes." "Who represents them?" She checked her notes. "Their senior marketing director." What's her name? She answered without hesitation. Olivia Bennett. The room became silent. Sarah walked in. You don't look happy. I know her. Both women looked surprised. You do? Emma asked. I knew her a long time ago. Sarah crossed her arms. Will this become a problem? I remembered my father's final words. Keep moving forward. I slowly shook my head. No. Are you sure? Emma asked. Yes. When is the first meeting? Next Thursday. I nodded. I'll be there. After they left, I stared through the office window. 3 years ago, she believed I would chase her across the world. Now the world had found a way to bring her back to me. This time, I wasn't the man she had left behind. And for the first time, I wondered whether she would recognize the stranger I had become. Chapter 5, The Reunion That Changed Everything. I stood outside the conference room and took one slow breath. Emma looked at me. Ready. I've handled harder meetings. She smiled. I believe you. I pushed the door open. The moment I stepped inside, my feet stopped moving. Olivia sat across the long conference table. She looked up. Our eyes met. The color disappeared from her face. Ethan? She whispered. I nodded politely. Good morning. She stared at me without speaking. One of her co-workers looked confused. Ms. Bennett? Do you know Mr. Carter? She swallowed. Yes. I pulled out my chair. Let's begin. Everyone opened their files. I spoke calmly. Thank you all for joining us today. We believe this partnership can benefit both companies. Olivia kept looking at me. I avoided her eyes. A manager from her company asked, Mr. Carter, what are your goals for this project? I answered confidently. I want transparency, innovation, and long-term trust. Olivia lowered her head. For a second, I wondered if those words reminded her of our past. The meeting continued. Sarah explained our production plans. Ryan discussed investment strategies. Emma presented the marketing schedule. When it was Olivia's turn, she stood slowly. Our company believes this partnership will create new opportunities. Her voice sounded steady at first. Then she looked at me again. I also believe trust is the foundation of every successful relationship. She paused. I'm sorry. The room became quiet. One of her co-workers frowned. Sorry? She quickly shook her head. I meant business relationship. Nobody asked another question. I simply nodded. Please continue. She finished her presentation, but her confidence never returned. An hour later, the meeting ended. Everyone shook hands. People slowly left the room. I gathered my papers. Ethan. I recognized her voice immediately. I turned around. Olivia stood behind me. Can we talk? I looked at Emma. I'll meet you outside. She nodded and quietly closed the door. The room became silent. Olivia took one careful step toward me. I never imagined this. Neither did I. She laughed bitterly. You're the CEO. Yes. I thought. She stopped speaking. What did you think? I thought you would come after me. I looked at her calmly. You were very confident. I was. She looked at the floor. I kept waiting. For what? For your call. I never made it. I know. She smiled sadly. I couldn't understand why. I was taking care of my father. I know that now. You knew it then. She closed her eyes. I thought love meant choosing each other over everything else. I answered quietly. I believed love meant standing beside the people who needed us. Tears filled her eyes. I was selfish. I stayed silent. I'm sorry, Ethan. I looked at her for a long moment. I believe you. She looked surprised. You do? Yes. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. Does that mean you forgive me? I don't carry anger anymore. She smiled hopefully. So, maybe we can start again? Before I answered, the conference room door opened. Grace walked inside carrying a folder. Oh, she looked between us. Am I interrupting? I smiled. Not at all. Grace walked over. I just wanted your signature before you left. I signed the papers. Olivia watched us carefully. You work together? She asked. Grace nodded. Yes. She smiled at me. I also wanted to remind you about dinner tonight. I laughed softly. I almost forgot. I knew you would. Olivia looked from Grace to me. You seem happy. I looked at Grace. I am. Grace excused herself. I'll wait outside. After she left, Olivia spoke again. Is she special to you? I thought about the question. She stood beside me when my life was falling apart. Olivia lowered her eyes. I should have been that person. You made a different choice. I know. Her voice almost disappeared. I've regretted it for a long time. I nodded. Regret can't change the past. No. It can only teach us. She wiped away a tear. I thought success would make me feel complete. Did it? No. What was missing? You. I shook my head gently. No. She looked confused. What do you mean? What was missing wasn't me. She stayed quiet. It was loyalty. A tear rolled down her cheek. I finally understand. I'm glad. She took one slow breath. I hope someday you remember me kindly. I already do. You do. I remember the woman I loved. And now, I've accepted that she's no longer the woman standing in front of me. She closed her eyes. Those words hurt her more than any argument ever could. She nodded slowly. I suppose this is goodbye again. I gave her a respectful smile. Take care of yourself, Olivia. She walked toward the door. Just before leaving, she looked back at me one last time. For the first time since the day she boarded that plane, I saw uncertainty instead of pride. Then she quietly walked away, leaving me with peace instead of pain. Chapter 6. When the internet learned the truth. The morning after the conference, I expected another busy workday. Instead, Emma rushed into my office holding her phone. Ethan, we have a problem. I looked up. What happened? A video leaked. What video? The conversation between you and Olivia after the meeting. I stood immediately. How much did people hear? Not everything. Show me. She handed me her phone. The short clip showed Olivia standing in front of me with tears in her eyes. I thought you would come after me, she said. Then my voice answered calmly. I chose my family instead of chasing someone who walked away. The video ended there. I sighed. Who posted it? We don't know yet. Sarah entered the office. It's everywhere. Ryan followed behind her. Millions of people have already watched it. I placed the phone on my desk. We're not making a statement. Emma looked surprised. Are you sure? Yes. But reporters are already calling. My answer is still no. She nodded. I'll handle them. By lunchtime, my phone had become strangely quiet. Then it started ringing again. Unknown numbers. Journalists, television producers, podcast hosts. Everyone wanted the same story. I rejected every request. That evening, Grace visited my office. You've ignored every interview. I have. Why? Because my past isn't entertainment. She smiled. I'm proud of you. I don't feel proud. You protected your peace. I hope that's enough. It usually is. The next morning, Emma entered with another update. The internet found Olivia's old videos. I frowned. What videos? She opened one on her tablet. Olivia stood on a stage holding a microphone. Someone asked, would you ever choose love over your career? She laughed. No man is worth sacrificing my future. Another clip played. I don't believe in long-distance relationships, Olivia said confidently. If someone can't follow me, they don't belong in my life. I closed my eyes. She had said those words years ago. Now the entire world had heard them. Emma looked at me carefully. People are comparing those interviews with yesterday's video. I figured they would. The comments are changing. I don't want to read them. You don't have to. Ryan walked into the office. I do. He held up his phone. People are saying you were the one who sacrificed everything. I never wanted anyone's sympathy. They're not giving sympathy. What are they giving? Respect. I stayed silent. That afternoon, Lucas Reed requested another interview. Emma looked at me. Should I schedule it? No. He says he only wants your side. I already have my side. She smiled. And I lived it. She laughed softly. I'll tell him no. For the next 3 days, Olivia's name filled every news website. People criticized her old interviews. Others defended her. Some argued. Some apologized for judging me too quickly. I ignored everything. One evening, my phone vibrated. Olivia. I stared at the screen. Her message was short. Can we please talk? I locked the phone. A few minutes later, another message arrived. Please, just once. Asterisk asterisk. I said nothing. The next morning, she called. I watched the phone ring until it stopped. Then another call came. And another. I never answered. That evening, Grace found me standing outside the office. You've been looking at the sunset for 10 minutes. I needed quiet. She stood beside me. Has Olivia been calling? Yes. Will you answer? I don't think so. Grace nodded. You don't owe anyone your peace. I keep wondering if ignoring her makes me cruel. She smiled gently. No, it doesn't. Healing sometimes means saying nothing at all. I looked at her. That sounds simple. It isn't. What is it? It's necessary. I thought about those words. For years, I believed closure came from one final conversation. Now I wasn't so sure. The next morning, Emma entered again. Ethan. Yes. Olivia uploaded a short message. What did she say? Only one sentence. I waited. Emma looked at me quietly. She said she made the biggest mistake of her life. I looked through my office window. 3 years ago, I had begged life to bring her back. Now she was trying to return on her own. The difference was simple. Back then, I needed her. Now, I had finally learned how to live without her. For the first time since our relationship ended, I realized silence could be stronger than revenge. And somehow, that silence was speaking louder than any words I could have said. Chapter 7, Her Public Apology. I arrived at my office expecting another normal day. Instead, Emma walked in holding her phone with a serious expression. Ethan, you need to see this. I looked up from my laptop. What happened now? Olivia posted a video. I leaned back. I thought she stopped talking. So did I. She placed the phone in front of me. I think you should watch it. I hesitated for a moment before pressing play. Olivia looked completely different. There was no expensive makeup, no perfect smile, no glamorous background. She sat alone in a quiet room. She looked directly into the camera. I've spent years pretending I made the right choice. She stopped for a moment and wiped away tears. I didn't. I remained silent. I left someone who truly loved me because I believed success was more important than loyalty. My chest tightened. I thought he would chase me. She lowered her head. He never did. Tears rolled down her face. I blamed him for choosing his father. She covered her eyes. Today, I understand he made the only choice a good son could make. I looked away from the screen for a second. Then I forced myself to continue. I became successful. She smiled sadly. I traveled the world. Another tear fell. I attended expensive parties. She laughed bitterly. But every achievement felt empty because I left behind the one person who loved me without asking for anything. The room around me felt strangely quiet. Her voice trembled again. Ethan. Hearing my name after so many years felt unfamiliar. If you ever watch this, I'm sorry. She took a deep breath. I never stopped loving you. She paused again. I know I don't deserve another chance. She looked straight into the camera. But if there is even the smallest place left in your heart. Her voice broke. I would spend the rest of my life earning your trust. The video ended. Neither Emma nor I spoke. Finally, she asked softly, How do you feel? I stared at the blank screen. I don't know. Within hours, the apology spread across the internet. Millions of people watched it. News channels discussed it. Social media exploded. Reporters gathered outside my company. Employees whispered in the hallways. My phone never stopped vibrating. Ryan entered my office. You've become the biggest story online. I never wanted that. I know. Sarah walked in behind him. People keep asking one question. I can guess. Will you forgive Olivia? I sighed. I don't owe the internet an answer. No. You only owe yourself one. After they left, I sat alone. For the first time in years, memories returned without warning. I remembered our first date. I remembered our dreams. I remembered buying the engagement ring I never gave her. I closed my eyes. Part of me still remembered the woman I loved. Another part remembered the woman who walked away. Late that evening, Grace knocked gently on my office door. You skipped dinner. I wasn't hungry. She placed 2 cups of coffee on my desk. I brought something better. I smiled faintly. You always know. She sat across from me. You watched the video. I did. What did you think? I believed every word. And I also remembered every painful one. She nodded slowly. That's normal. I don't know what to do. You don't have to decide today. What if forgiving her is the right thing? It might be. What if giving her another chance is also right? Grace looked at me quietly before answering. Those aren't the same question. I frowned. What do you mean? Forgiveness and returning are different choices. I stayed silent. You can forgive someone, she continued. Without reopening the door they closed, her words settled deep inside me. I never thought about it that way. Most people don't. She smiled gently. Real forgiveness removes the weight from your heart. And love. Love needs trust. I looked out the window. I don't know if trust can grow again. You don't have to answer that tonight. She stood and picked up her bag. Before leaving, she looked back at me. Whatever you decide, make sure it honors the man you've become, not the man you used to be. After she left, I remained alone in the quiet office. I realized the world wanted a dramatic ending. The internet wanted romance. Reporters wanted headlines. Strangers wanted justice. But none of them had lived my life. None of them had buried my father. None of them had stood beside his hospital bed. Only I knew what those years had cost me. For the first time, I understood that real closure was not something the world could choose for me. It was a decision only my own heart could make. Chapter 8, the choice only I could make. I stared at Olivia's last message for nearly an hour before replying. Tomorrow, 10 in the morning, Riverside Park. One conversation, nothing more. Asterisk asterisk. She answered almost immediately. Thank you. I'll be there. Asterisk asterisk. The next morning I arrived early. The same bench still faced the river. Years ago, we had sat there making promises about our future. Today, it felt like a place waiting for a goodbye. A few minutes later, Olivia walked toward me. She looked nervous. Hi, Ethan. Hello. Thank you for coming. I promised one conversation. She nodded. I know. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence carried years of memories. Finally, she sat beside me. I've imagined this meeting 1,000 times. So have I. She looked at the river. I always thought you would come to London. I know. I was certain. I remember. She laughed sadly. I was so full of myself. I stayed quiet. I thought love meant proving how much someone wanted me. It doesn't. I understand that now. She wiped away a tear. I expected you to leave everything behind. You expected me to leave my father. She lowered her head. I did. I couldn't. I know. You asked me to choose. I was wrong. I looked at her calmly. My father needed me. I understand now. I wish you had understood then. So do I. She covered her face for a moment. I'm sorry, Ethan. I could hear the pain in her voice. I'm sorry for making you feel like you weren't enough. I remained silent. I'm sorry for believing my dreams mattered more than your responsibilities. She looked at me again. I'm sorry for every selfish choice I made. I took a slow breath. I believe you. Her eyes filled with hope. You do. Yes. She smiled through her tears. Then, is there still a chance for us? I looked at the river before answering. I've spent years carrying anger. She listened quietly. I kept asking why everything happened. She nodded. But anger became too heavy. I turned toward her. So I forgave you, she cried openly. You did. I forgave you a long time ago. She reached for my hand. I gently moved it away. Her smile slowly disappeared. Ethan, I forgave you. I know. But forgiveness isn't the same as rebuilding trust. She looked at me without speaking. I don't hate you anymore. Then why can't we try again? Because we're not the same people. She shook her head. I can change. I know you can. I already have. I believe that too. She frowned. Then why? I smiled sadly. Because I changed too. She stayed silent. The man you left spent every night wondering why he wasn't enough. I paused. The man sitting beside you today doesn't ask that question anymore. Another tear rolled down her face. I wish I had met this version of you. You did. She looked confused. What? You helped create him. I hurt you. You did. I broke your heart. You did. And you're thanking me? I'm thanking the lessons. She closed her eyes. I don't deserve your kindness. This isn't kindness. What is it? Peace. The wind moved gently through the trees. Neither of us spoke for several moments. Finally, Olivia whispered, I kept thinking success would make me happy. Did it? No. What did you discover? That I climbed every mountain alone. I nodded slowly. I thought if I became successful enough, the emptiness would disappear. It didn't. No. She looked directly into my eyes. I still love you. I answered honestly. I'll always care about the person you once were. She looked hopeful again. But love also needs trust. Her shoulders dropped. I destroyed that. Yes. I can't ask you to forget. No. I can't ask you to become the man I left. No. She smiled weakly. Because he doesn't exist anymore. I nodded. He had to disappear. She wiped away her tears. So this is really goodbye. It is. She stood slowly. I don't regret loving you. Neither do I. I only regret losing you. I smiled. Take care of yourself, Olivia. You too. She hesitated for one last moment. I hope one day you think of me without pain. I already do. She looked surprised. What do you feel now? I answered honestly. Gratitude. She blinked. For what? For teaching me that real love never asks someone to abandon the people who matter most. She cried again, but this time she nodded. I'll remember that. She turned and walked away. I watched until she disappeared beyond the trees. For years, I believed closure meant getting the ending I wanted. Standing there alone, I finally understood the truth. Closure wasn't getting someone back. It was accepting that some chapters were meant to end so better ones could begin. I took one final look at the empty bench. Then I smiled. For the first time in many years, my heart felt lighter than my footsteps. I wasn't walking away from the woman I once loved. I was walking toward the life I had finally learned to love. Chapter 9 My New Beginning. Several months passed after my final meeting with Olivia. For the first time in years, I woke up without wondering what might have been. Peace arrived quietly. It wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It simply became part of my life. One morning, I walked into the office and found Sarah waiting outside my door. Good morning, boss. I laughed. You only call me that when you want something. She smiled. I want permission to celebrate. What happened? She handed me a report. We officially opened our 5th international office. I looked at the numbers. We actually did it. Ryan walked over carrying a box. I brought coffee. I smiled. Then today is definitely worth celebrating. He raised his cup. To new beginnings. To teamwork, I answered. Sarah nodded. And to a CEO who never forgot where he came from. I laughed. My father would probably tell me to work harder. Ryan smiled. He'd also be proud. I looked at the empty chair in my office. I hope so. That evening, Grace and I met at a small restaurant. She smiled as I sat down. "You look relaxed." "I finally feel that way." She laughed softly. "I've been waiting to hear those words." The waiter brought our drinks. Grace looked at me. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever think about Olivia?" I answered honestly. "Sometimes." "Does it still hurt?" I shook my head. "No." "What do you feel?" "I hope she finds peace." Grace smiled warmly. "That's a beautiful answer. It's an honest one." She looked out the window. "I heard she left social media." "I heard the same. They say she moved somewhere quiet." "I hope that's true." Grace nodded. "Everyone deserves the chance to rebuild." "I agree." She reached across the table. This time I didn't pull my hand away. She smiled. "I've wanted to do that for a long time." "I know. You did. I noticed more than you realized." She laughed. "And I wasn't ready. And now." I looked into her eyes. "Now I am." Her smile grew brighter. "I was hoping you'd say that. I'm done living in the past." "I know. I want something real." She squeezed my hand gently. "So do I." Weeks turned into months. Grace never tried to replace anyone. She simply stood beside me. When I worked too late, she reminded me to rest. When I doubted myself, she reminded me how far I had come. When I smiled, she smiled with me. One afternoon, Emma walked into my office carrying another magazine. "You made the cover again." I laughed. "I was hoping nobody would notice." Too late. She placed the magazine on my desk. The headline read, "The CEO Who Built Success Through Integrity." I smiled quietly. Years ago, I wanted someone else's approval. Now I cared more about earning my own respect. Later that evening, Ryan joined me on the balcony outside the office. "You've changed." "I hope that's a good thing." "It is." "You don't chase anything anymore." "I chase goals." He laughed. "Fair enough." He looked at the city lights. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Olivia stayed?" I thought for a moment. "No. Really. If she had stayed, I might never have become the person I am today." He nodded. "I understand. I don't thank her for hurting me. But I thank life for teaching me how to grow beyond it." He smiled. "That's the wisest thing I've heard all week." Months later, Grace and I visited my father's grave together. I placed fresh white lilies beside the stone. "I kept my promise," I whispered. Grace stood quietly beside me. I kept moving forward. A gentle breeze passed through the trees. For the first time, I felt as though my father already knew. As we walked away, Grace slipped her hand into mine. Neither of us needed to say anything. Some moments were complete without words. On the drive home, my phone vibrated. It was a news notification. Olivia had officially announced she was leaving public life to focus on private work and community service. I smiled softly. I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel satisfaction. I only hoped she would finally find the peace both of us had searched for in different ways. That night, I stood outside my home looking at the stars. I thought about the frightened man who once believed losing one person meant losing his entire future. He had been wrong. The greatest victory was never becoming wealthy. It was never becoming famous. It was never proving anyone wrong. The greatest victory was becoming someone who no longer needed validation from the person who once walked away. I smiled as I looked toward tomorrow instead of yesterday. One lesson remained with me above every other. Sometimes the people who leave expect you to chase them. The greatest surprise is when you learn how to keep walking forward instead.